Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Liv, or Olivia if you've never been here before. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and stopping by to hang out with me. So excited to share with you some of the books that I have accumulated recently. Not only are these on my TBR for this winter, but I thought you guys might be able to get some great recommendations from these books. I have cozy books, wintry books, holiday books, Christmas books, all sorts of books for everyone. I feel like you will be able to find something new here. But before we get into all the exciting books, I wanted to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, which is Book of the Month. Book of the Month is a super popular and fast-growing online book service for readers, and their mission is to promote new and emerging authors, but also help readers discover books that they love. Their team goes through hundreds and hundreds of books, you guys, each month, and gives us as readers their best choice from the curated selection of new and early release titles. That way you can spend much more time reading and a lot less time researching. Book of the Month is totally risk-free, which is what I love about it. You can skip any month at any time and you will never be charged. They also have the best price for new release hardcover fiction that I have ever seen. You can actually right now get your first book for only $5 using the code WONDER. What I personally love about Book of the Month is I am always eager to get my hands on the newest releases, especially if it's an auto-buy author for me. So I love their option when they have early release books. It absolutely makes my day. That is my favorite part about this subscription. And for December's pick, I chose Babel by R.F. Kuang, mainly because I am really wanting to get more into adult fantasy. I own a lot of young adult fantasy, which you can probably tell by my shelves, but I am so glad this was a choice because I cannot wait to dive more, discover more adult fantasy authors that I really love. Like I said, you can use the code WONDER to get your first book for only $5. So go to the link below in my description, check out their website for yourself, and go ahead and explore the books that they have for December. Now let's go ahead and jump right into the Christmassy book haul. First of all, we are going to just dive right into a couple Christmassy cozy mysteries, which I cannot wait to dive into myself. Starting off with Apple Cider Slaying. I originally put this on my list because my friends that run the Cozy Hollow Book Club chose this for their December book club pick. This book is about Winnie and her granny who own an orchard, and apparently the business isn't doing too well, and so they decided to do like a Christmas festival and just really try to get some attraction to the orchard. But Granny's longtime nemesis actually gets killed by an apple press. Yes, you heard me right. It sounds so gruesome, but of course Winnie tries to help her grandmother clear her name so that way the orchard can stay up and running. I don't know what these two are going to get up to, but I just love the fact that there's a grandma and a granddaughter dynamic. I really hope there's a lot of humor in this. My friend Caitlin talks very highly of this book, and I just know I'm gonna love it. I think it's gonna be the absolute perfect cozy mystery that I'm looking for this season. The next cozy mystery I would absolutely love to get into because I've heard nothing but amazing things about this author. It's A Cup of Holiday Fear by Ellie Alexandra. The first book in the series is called Meet Your Baker, so it is a bakery mystery series, but I think this is number 3, so I am skipping around a little bit, but honestly I don't mind because it's Christmas themed, and I'm going to read you the back because the descriptive words just makes me want to jump right into this story. Ashland, Oregon looks as pretty as a postcard this holiday season. The halls are decked, stockings hung, and eyes are all aglow, mostly thanks to the buttered rum. Jules Capshaw and her staff at Tort are busier than ever still. Even the town's most in-demand bakers need to take a break. So Jules invites everyone to celebrate at the local Winchester Inn's Dickens Feast, a 6-course extravaganza with Yorkshire pudding, Christmas goose, and and all the trimmings. But as the weather outside becomes frightful, things inside turn less delightful when one of the guests ends up as dead as Scrooge's doornail. I really want to know what this mystery is actually about. I cannot wait to dive more into the characters. This does sound a little bit on the cheesy side, but you know what? This time of year is the time of year that I can tolerate a little bit of cheese, and the fact that this takes place in a bakery during Christmas time, you know for a fact there's going to be so many food descriptions that are going to make me so hungry. The next book I have is called Murder in the First Edition by Lauren Elliott. This also is not the first in a series, but I did get it fairly cheap from my local book thrift store. Couldn't say no to this cover. Addie's getting into the spirit for the upcoming charity auction, especially since she's got an 1843 copy of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol to donate. Her former colleagues at the Boston Public Library have confirmed that its worth runs toward the high five figures, which should help with the new pediatric wing. Her mood darkens though when a visitor from the past appears, Jonathan Hemingway, the father of her late fiance. His presence stirs up sad memories for Addie, but also has her fuming when Jonathan runs off for a lunchtime liaison with Teresa Lang, who's in charge of the auction. Soon after, Addie heads to Teresa's office at the hospital and finds the poor woman's dead body. What she didn't find is her valuable first edition. What sort of Scrooge would steal from sick children and commit murder in the process? This cozy definitely sounds like it explores some more hard-hitting topics than other ones, which personally I'm kind of excited about. That tends to get me emotional while I'm reading. This time of year I really love a good emotional read, so I hope this is just that. And the next book that is high up on my list that just got released this year, I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about it already, that is The Christmas Murder Game by Alexandra Benedict. In this story, we have our main character named Lily, whose mother unfortunately passed away. Her family owns this large house or this big estate where they always have some type of Christmas game. She does not want to go back to this house though. She has had haunting dreams about it. I'm not sure if maybe her mother was murdered there or she just has a weird feeling about it, but she ends up going anyways. She meets her 12 other cousins there that are part of this game. They have to find keys, they have to solve puzzles, and the prize is to find out the identity of her mother's killer. This definitely reminds me a lot of Knives Out, which is why I put it high on my list, because I loved Knives Out and it just sounds like a good time. I cannot wait to see how Christmas themes are weaved into this story. I am just very intrigued by this one and cannot wait to get to it. The next book I wanted to share is actually a winter thriller. In doing my research, I could not find a lot of wintry thrillers that I have not already read, but I completely forgot that this book even existed, and I'm so glad I found it. It is called I'm Still Alive by Kate Alice Marshall. You guys know I love Rules for Vanishing. She writes such fast-paced, creepy, atmospheric books, and when I saw that this one was a wintry thriller, I could not resist picking it up. After Jess is alone, her cabin has burned to the ground. She knows if she doesn't act fast, the cold will kill her before she has time to worry about food, but she is still alive. Before, Jess hadn't seen her survivalist off-the-grid dad in over a decade, but after a car crash killed her mother and left her injured, she was forced to move to his cabin in the remote Canadian wilderness. Just as Jess was beginning to get to know him, a secret from his past paid them a visit, leaving her father dead and Jess stranded. With only her father's dog for company, Jess must forage and hunt for food, build shelter, and keep herself warm. Some days it feels like the wild is out to destroy her, but she's stronger than she ever imagined. But just from this description, in case you can't tell, it just gave me like this bone-chilling kind of feeling, especially surviving by yourself in the winter. That just sounds like such high stakes and makes me so nervous for Jess, and I cannot wait to see the journey that Jess goes on to survive, but also to see how this book wraps up. Before we jump into the many holiday romances I picked up, I thought I would share with you the two wintry or cozy fantasy books that are high on my list. The first one being A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. You guys have heard me talk about this in multiple videos already, but I knew that when Lexi and Desi were talking so much about this book and and how cozy it is. I've seen so many people also give this 5 stars. I was like, okay, there's gotta be a reason. I also am obsessed with the way T. Kingfisher writes. She typically writes kind of like weird horror books, but I've heard this one is the complete opposite. In this story, we have Mona, who's a 14-year-old bakery kind of wizard where her magic only lies in her baking abilities. She lives with her aunt and helps her bake these items every single morning, and one morning she goes into the kitchen and discovers the dead body of a woman. In this world, wizards are kind of looked at as outcasts, or they are looked down upon, and I don't know why that is. I'm hoping we get a little bit more background about that, but in this story there's also a sourdough starter that is a companion of Mona, and apparently it was when her magic went wrong one time. He just has such a big personality as well as anything she bakes, because anything she makes just automatically comes to life. I mean, a magical bakery, a mystery, a cozy mystery, and it kind of reads like a middle grade fantasy. That is just everything I want wrapped up into one book. As you guys know, this year is the first year that I have really gotten into any type of romance books, so needless to say, I was extra excited and definitely went overboard this year with picking up holiday romances. I think I have about 8 to share with you all, but the first one I absolutely had to tell you guys or force you to pick up because I love it that much is Holiday Romance by Catherine Walsh. If you've watched my latest vlog, I give you all the many reasons why I love this book, but if you love a good friends to lovers story, if you love more of a clean romance, this will definitely be the book for you. Every year for the past decade, Molly and Andrew meet up on Christmas Eve at the airport to fly from Chicago back to Dublin, Ireland. Andrew absolutely loves Christmas. He would not miss a Christmas day spent with his family, but honestly, Molly could care less. Her and her sister had this tradition where they give each other horrible Christmas gifts, which is so funny. On Christmas Eve, there's this weird freak snowstorm that keeps Andrew and Molly from being able to fly home. She knows just how much being home for Christmas it means to Andrew, and so she decides to do every stinking thing that she can or think of or come up with to get him home for Christmas. And let me tell you, this book is not only a cute romance, but it is also quite the adventure. If you love Emily Henry, if you love Christina Lauren, this is like the two of them had a baby. That's how I've been describing this book, because the humor and the banter between the two of them is very Emily Henry-ish, but I also felt the emotions of a Christina Lauren book, so I highly recommend picking this up if you love either one of those authors. The next book I picked up is called Once Upon a December, and I'm not gonna lie, this little gnome here kind of sold me. I love this cover, I love the artwork, but not only that, it actually sounds like a little bit of magical realism is involved, which I personally loved that in Dead Romantics, and if I can get a little bit of paranormal into my romance, I will definitely take it. With a name like Astra Noel Snow, holiday spirit isn't just a seasonal specialty, it's a way of life. But after a stinging divorce, Astra's yearly trip to the Milwaukee Christmas market takes on a whole new meaning. She's ready to eat, drink, and be merry, especially with the handsome stranger who saves the best kringle for her at his family bakery. For Jack Clausen, the Jewel Mart, with its snowy lights and charming shops, stays the same while the world outside the joyful street changes, magically leaping from one December to the next every 4 weeks. Obviously, it sounds like the two of them meet up at some point, but unfortunately he jumps around in time. It's giving me happy vibes, but also the synopsis kind of has me guessing a little bit. The next book I knew I had to pick up because I saw this book around everywhere. I think last year or the past couple of years. This is like a top holiday romance I've seen so many people recommend. It is The 12 Dates of Christmas by Jenny Bayliss. I do know this author just came out with another holiday romance that I almost picked up, but then I decided it's probably best to start with an older book. We have our 34-year-old main character named Kate, who is just kind of down and out about her dating life. She is kind of hard on herself, especially around the Christmas season, but then her best friend actually signs her up for a dating app and she decides to go on 12 different dates. I cannot wait to see how this goes for her. Obviously, honestly, I'm rooting for her in the end that she will finally find the love of her life, but I can only imagine how some of these blind dates might go. And then I have the perfect book that I knew I could not resist any longer this year, called A Cat Cafe Christmas by Cody. Like, are you kidding me? This is a cat lover's perfect romance book, and that's literally all I needed to know. I do know that the two characters are actually kind of opposites, so as they say, opposites attract, but I believe this girl is trying to open a cat cafe or owns a cat cafe, and we used to have one in my town, and it was so cute and so much fun. It's kind of weird when you think about grabbing a coffee and having coffee with cats, but honestly, if you're a crazy cat lady with me, it was kind of the dream. And I love at the heading of each chapter, you have a description of a cat as well as a little illustration of all the different cats. And this just sounds like the cutest of times. And another very, very, very popular holiday romance that I kept seeing last year, and I do know this author is going to have another book come out very, very soon. That is 8 Perfect Hours by Leah Lewis. When perfect strangers Noelle and Sam meet by chance during a blizzard and spend one perfect evening together, they think they'll never see each other again, but fate seems to have different plans. On a snowy evening in January, 30-something Noelle Butterby is on her way back from an event at her old college when disaster strikes. With the blizzard closing off roads, she finds herself stranded alone in her car without food, drink, or even worse, a working charger for her phone. All seems lost until handsome Sam Atwood, also trapped in a nearby car, knocks on her window and offers assistance. After 8 perfect hours together, morning arrives and the roads finally clear. The two strangers part, positive they'll never see each other again, but fate has something else in mind. Okay, I did not realize that this was actually kind of like an isolated setting, and I love this. Like, how in the world or what in the world do these two do for 8 hours during a snowstorm? I need to know. The next book that I know is probably going to be the most emotional read out of all these holiday romances is One Last Gift by Emily Stone. But in this one, we have Cassie and Tom, whose parents actually passed away. I'm not exactly sure how, but unfortunately, Tom, her brother, ends up passing away, and he ends up leaving her a handful of written notes and actually sends her on this scavenger hunt because he wants nothing for his sister Cassie than for her to find true love. And oh my gosh, you guys, I just know I'm gonna end up being a sobbing mess. I just have such a good feeling about this author, and I just cannot wait. The next book I have, I knew I also had to pick up because it was around Bookstagram all last year. Like, this was the top holiday romance, and I feel like I need to read it and find out why other people love it as well. That is A Cross Country Christmas by Courtney Walsh. I do not know much about this book other than our main character Lauren is trying to get home for the holidays, and so she ends up road tripping with, I think, her best friend's brother Will, who she grew up in high school having a crush on. I'm interested to see how well that goes for her and how the dynamic of this relationship is. I've heard that Courtney Walsh writes very heartfelt romances, but also kind of funny. I know she also writes cute but wholesome and clean romances, which is what I'm definitely here for. And then I also had to pick up Just Like Magic by Sarah Hogle. This is a new release that came out, I think, last month in November, but this just sounds like another one of those paranormal kind of romances that I think is going to be a really good time and just add to the story and the plot, which is what I love. I definitely love a little bit more of a plot line in my romances, and this one I know that there is a Christmas party and our main character somehow accidentally or maybe on purpose plays a record backwards, which brings a Christmas spirit to life, and she may or may not fall in love with him, which sounds very familiar, once again, like the Dead Romantics where she fell in love with a ghost. So I'm really hoping I love this one as much as I love the Dead Romantics, maybe even more, but overall, if it's a little bit cheesy, I think it's just gonna be a really good time. time. And lastly, I decided to pick up another Jenny Bayliss book, which I think is her debut book. I'm not exactly sure, but it's called A Season for Second Chances. And this story follows Annie Sharp, whose kids are all grown up, and unfortunately her 26 years of marriage has come to an end. She decides to find a winter guardian position along a seaside coast and just explore life and get out on her own because she has nothing holding her back anymore. She may or may not strike up a friendship with the neighbor in this story, and I'm assuming maybe they fall in love, but I just love the fact that this takes place in Willow Bay, which is right on the seaside, and it sounds like such a cute, cozy atmosphere. I've actually heard that the romance kind of takes a back seat in the story, and we don't get a lot of that until the end, which is totally okay with me because I just love a cozy coastal literary book. Like, if it has great atmosphere, I'm all here for it. Well, that is it, my friends. Those are all the books that I have decided to pick up recently this season. If I read them, great. If I don't, I can save them for next year. So I'm just really glad to start growing my Christmas book collection. And the fact that I'm super into romances now, I just have a feeling that this reading season is going to be such a fun time for me. Thank you so much to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video. Thank you to you guys for watching this video, supporting my channel. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video.